Have you ever sat on the toilet, leaning forward, gripping your knees, pushing with every ounce of strength you have left, only to stand up 10 minutes later with absolutely nothing to show for it? You can feel it in there. There's a heavy, dragging pressure low in your belly that tells you something is right at the doorway, but no matter how hard you bear down, it simply will not move. You step away frustrated, sometimes in tears, telling yourself you'll try again in a few hours. You drink some water, you pace the kitchen, you go back to the bathroom that night, and again the next morning, and the same painful, exhausting drama repeats itself. If you are nodding along right now, I need you to take a slow, deep breath and hear me clearly. You are not crazy. You are not alone, and what you are dealing with is not in your head. It is a very real, very physical problem, and we are going to face it directly today. Welcome to today's video. My name is Dr. Katherine, and the topic on the table is one almost nobody wants to say out loud, which is exactly why so many people end up suffering through it in silence. We are talking about stool that has gotten stuck inside the rectum. What it actually is, why it happens, and most importantly, what you can safely do about it right now. What you are most likely dealing with at this moment is a physical traffic jam inside your lower digestive tract. A heavy, dehydrated mass of waste has formed and gotten itself wedged into a place it can no longer slide out of. It is uncomfortable. It is frightening. And because of the embarrassment surrounding the topic, far too many adults sit alone with this for days, hoping it will just resolve on its own. Today, we are going to remove the shame and replace it with a clear, calm action plan. So let's start with what is actually happening inside your body. The medical term for this condition is fecal impaction. But strip away the textbook language, and what you have is a hardened, severely dried out lump of stool that has anchored itself inside the rectal cavity and refuses to move. One of the first things I want to clear up is a very common misunderstanding about this kind of blockage. Many of my patients arrive at the clinic convinced this came out of nowhere. They tell me they felt fine just a couple of days ago, so how on earth could things have gotten this bad this fast? The honest answer is that it didn't get this bad fast at all. A blockage like this is the final scene in a story that has been writing itself for nearly a week. What typically happens is that for several days in a row, you've been having what feel like normal bowel movements. You sit down, something passes, you feel finished, and you go on with your day. But your body wasn't actually emptying all the way. A small amount of waste was being left behind every single time. Day after day, that leftover material piled up and pushed deeper into the rectal vault. And here's the part most people never learn in school. The main job of your large intestine is to pull water back out of the waste that passes through it. So the longer that leftover stool sits there, the more moisture gets reclaimed by your body. By day 4 or 5, what was once soft and movable has been wrung dry, like an old dish towel. By day 6 or 7, it has the texture and density of a piece of dried clay. Now we need to step into what I call the warning zone, because a stuck stool is not just an inconvenience that ruins your morning. It is a real medical situation that can ripple through your entire pelvic region and quietly cause damage if it is ignored. The tricky part is that it loves to disguise itself with symptoms that look like other problems entirely. One of the biggest red flags I want you to know about is something called overflow leakage. This is when watery brown liquid suddenly starts seeping out of you, sometimes without warning. The natural reaction is to assume you have caught a stomach bug or eaten something bad, and the next thought is usually to reach for an over-the-counter anti-diarrhea medicine. Please do not do this. What is actually happening is that the rock-hard plug is sealing the exit, but new liquid waste arriving from higher up in the gut has nowhere to go, so it squeezes around the edges of the blockage and trickles out. Taking a medicine designed to slow your bowels down at this moment is like locking the only door of a flooding house. You will trap the impaction even deeper and make recovery far more difficult. Another clue that catches people completely off guard is a sudden problem with urination. You may find yourself running to the bathroom every 20 minutes feeling like your bladder is bursting, only to release a few painful drops. Or you may feel like you cannot empty your bladder at all. The reason is pure anatomy. Your rectum and your bladder are roommates living in a very small apartment in the lower pelvis, separated by a thin wall. When the rectum is stretched to its absolute maximum by a giant solid mass, it bulges forward and physically presses on the bladder behind it. I have seen patients walk into the emergency room convinced they had a urinary infection, only to discover the real culprit was the stool blockage squashing their bladder almost shut. One 68-year-old gentleman I treated last year, a retired bus driver named Frank, came in absolutely sure he needed a urology specialist. The instant we cleared his impaction, his bladder problems vanished within an hour. The dangers don't stop at a compressed bladder either. If the blockage is left in place for too long, or if you keep bearing down on it hoping for a miracle, you can do real damage to the wall of your intestine. The intestinal wall is living, breathing tissue with its own blood supply. When it is stretched far past its limit by an unyielding mass for days on end, the blood flow to that tissue can become starved. From there, things can escalate quickly into a complete obstruction, and in the worst-case scenario, the wall itself can develop a tear. If a tear opens, the contents of the bowel can leak into the abdominal cavity, which triggers a massive, life-threatening infection called peritonitis. This is the reason I cannot let you sit at home and just hope this passes on its own. The clock is real. Action is required. So when you realize you are facing a serious blockage, the very first thing I want you to do is stop straining immediately. I mean it. Put the pushing away. All you are doing right now is bruising delicate tissue, swelling the surrounding veins, and risking a fissure or a hemorrhoid that will haunt you for weeks. Instead, we are going to follow a calm, 4-step emergency plan, and I want you to follow it in order. Step 1 is your first home intervention. I want you to go to the pharmacy and buy a box of adult glycerin suppositories. You can find them on any shelf in the laxative aisle without a prescription. Now here is the detail that almost everyone gets wrong, and it is the reason this method usually fails when people try it on their own. You are not going to use just one suppository. For a hardened blockage of the size we are dealing with in an adult, one suppository is like throwing a bucket of water at a house fire. You need 3 adult glycerin suppositories used at the very same time. Here is exactly how to do it correctly. Lie down on your left side and bend your top knee toward your chest. The left side position uses the natural curve of your colon to your advantage and takes the gravity off your pelvic floor. Next, lubricate the suppositories generously. Even though they feel slightly slippery straight from the wrapper, that is not enough. Apply a thick coating of a safe water-based personal lubricant to each one. Remember, the mass already inside you is bone dry, so anything you introduce without serious lubrication is going to feel sharp and unpleasant. Insert all 3 suppositories deeply, as far as your finger can comfortably reach, so they make contact with or sit alongside the hardened mass. And now we arrive at the single most important rule of this entire protocol. You must wait. The biggest, most common mistake I see is people inserting the suppositories and then bolting to the toilet the second they feel the slightest urge. If you do that, all you are doing is pushing out 3 intact, unmelted glycerin pellets while the blockage stays exactly where it was. The glycerin needs body heat and time to do its work. It needs to liquefy, coat the surface of the impaction, and chemically draw moisture into the rectal lining. So lie still on your side for a full 30 minutes minimum. I tell my patients to put on a podcast or a quiet show, set a timer, and resist every false urge that pops up before the half hour is over. One of my longtime patients, a 72-year-old retired schoolteacher named Eleanor, told me that the first time she tried this protocol, she rushed to the bathroom after 8 minutes and got nowhere. The second time she forced herself to wait the full 30, the blockage finally released on its own. Time is the active ingredient. Now what if you wait the full 30 minutes, get up, sit on the toilet, and the mass still refuses to budge? Don't panic. We move calmly to step 2. Get up. Walk slowly around the house for an hour, sip some warm water, and let your body rest. After that hour, repeat the entire process from the beginning. Lie back down on your left side, lubricate 3 more adult glycerin suppositories, insert them deeply, and wait another full 30 minutes. The reason this often works on the second attempt is that the first round usually softens only the outer crust of the blockage, like soaking the hard shell of a stale loaf of bread. The second round penetrates the softened layer and reaches the dense core, finally giving your body enough lubrication and stimulation to release the entire mass. If you have completed 2 full rounds of this protocol and the blockage is still locked in place, your home efforts must end right there. We move to step 3, which means it is time to head to the emergency room or an urgent care clinic. I do not want you to feel 1 ounce of embarrassment about this. Hospital staff see fecal impactions every single day of the week, particularly in adults over 50, and there is no judgment waiting for you at the registration desk. At the hospital, the medical team will perform a clinical-grade enema procedure. They have specific tools, the proper fluid volume, and the experience to safely flush warm water and medical lubricants higher into the colon to break the mass apart from the inside out. Most patients are sent home within a couple of hours feeling like a different person, but what if even the hospital enema doesn't fully resolve the blockage? That brings us to step 4, which is the final medical option. Manual disimpaction. I want to be honest with you about what this involves, so you are not blindsided if you find yourself there. If the mass is essentially cemented into the rectal cavity, a physician will need to physically break it apart by hand and remove the pieces. By this stage, the surrounding tissue is severely inflamed and tender, so this procedure is far too painful to perform while you are fully awake. In most hospitals, you will be taken into a procedure room where you'll be given strong sedation, or in some cases a spinal block to numb the lower half of your body. It sounds intense, and yes, it is a serious step, but it is also the only safe way to remove a deeply lodged impaction without risking a tear in the bowel wall. The relief on the other side of that procedure is almost indescribable. The crushing pressure vanishes within seconds, the pelvic pain drains away, and your body finally feels like it belongs to you again. Once the blockage has been cleared, whether at home or in the hospital, you will feel like a new human being. But I have to tell you the hard truth right now while it is fresh in your mind. Removing the impaction is just winning one battle. It is not winning the war. If you walk out of this experience and slide right back into the same eating, drinking, and bathroom habits that got you here, this exact same nightmare will return, sometimes within weeks. This is why we have to talk about how you break the cycle for good. The single worst thing you can do to prevent another impaction is lean on stimulant laxatives. These are the harsh ones, the chemical pills you can buy off the shelf that promise quick results overnight. I call them the false friends of the digestive system. Yes, they will give you a brief sense of relief tomorrow morning, but used regularly, they slowly destroy the natural rhythm of your bowel. They work by chemically irritating the muscle wall of your intestine and forcing unnatural contractions. Over months and years, the bowel becomes lazy and dependent. It forgets how to push waste through on its own. The day you try to stop the laxative, your body essentially shrugs and refuses to function, and you end up trapped in an even worse cycle of constipation than you started with. I have seen patients in their 60s who can no longer have a bowel movement at all without chemical help, and it almost always traces back to years of stimulant laxative dependence. But what if much of what you've been told about fixing constipation is simply wrong? What if there is a way to gently restart your digestion and clear out the residue of years of incomplete elimination without harsh chemicals and without forcing yourself to swallow huge amounts of fiber? It sounds counterintuitive, but a growing number of people are emptying their bowels twice as easily by reducing fiber, not adding more, and turning instead to a single ancient ingredient that comes from beneath the surface of the ocean. By adding just a small daily pinch of this 8,000-year-old underwater plant compound to your routine, you can soothe the gut lining, draw moisture back into hardened waste, and gently release pounds of impacted material that has been quietly clogging your colon for years. No restrictive diet, no expensive probiotic capsules, no prescriptions. The science behind it is genuinely surprising, and you really do have to see it to believe it. Right now, pick up your phone, open the camera app, and point it at the QR code appearing on the screen to watch a short eye-opening presentation that explains exactly how it works. If you are watching this on your phone, don't worry, the direct link is sitting at the very top of the pinned comments below this video. Beyond that, real long-term digestive health is built on a foundation of unglamorous, consistent daily habits. The first is deep, genuine hydration. Not a sip here and there, but real water throughout the day, because water is the only force that keeps your stool soft as it travels through 25 feet of intestine. The second is regular physical movement. Even a 20-minute walk after lunch acts like a gentle pump that helps push waste forward through the colon. The third is retraining your body to use the bathroom at the same time every single day, ideally in the morning after a warm drink, because your bowel responds beautifully to a predictable schedule. And finally, please consider working with a digestive health specialist who can examine your specific situation, run the proper labs, and build a sustainable plan around your particular body. You should never have to face a terrifying emergency like this twice. If you are sitting there right now in pain, struggling with a blockage at this very moment, please stop straining, follow the 4-step emergency plan we just walked through, and get yourself to a doctor without hesitation if it does not resolve within a reasonable window. Your dignity is not on trial. Your health is what matters. If this video helped you understand what is happening inside your body, please tap that like button right now. It genuinely helps the channel reach more people who are silently suffering tonight. Even more importantly, share this video with a family member or friend who might need it. So many adults hide this problem out of shame, and your share could be the lifeline someone you love has been waiting for. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next video. Stay hydrated, listen carefully to what your body is telling you, and I will see you in the next one.